Welcome back to some professional StarCraft 2, a best of 5 in my new favorite matchup. One that I avoided for a while because it had become somewhat stale, but has exploded into a dynamic new, well, I was going to say beauty, but I don't know if that quite describes it. It's something, though. It's something. And we're going to have to find out what. Let me first introduce one of the pioneers who's adapted well to the new Queen, not Queenless, but at least Queen Handicap patch. It is, of course, Solar. One of the best Zergs in the world. Never the best, but always very close. Incredibly consistent, if not original. Now, on the other side, we usually can't help but avoid... Well, we can't help but talk about him. No matter who's playing in the match. But he's here. Despite rumors to his impending military service and a pseudo-retirement from StarCraft 2, he is very much still here playing regularly. So I don't know. I'm not going to complain. And I'm excited to introduce one of the most dynamic and inspirational YOLO toss. It's Dragon Phoenix Gaming's Zest. You have no idea when he's going to hand the controller to his little brother. He's going to decide to play with his mouse only. He's just going to sip vodka out of his Starbucks cup with a winter jacket on in the middle of GSL and walk out 15 minutes later, losing or winning 3-0. You don't know. But what you do know is he's going to send a probe out at the beginning of the game, and that's about all you can count on. So, nothing of particular note thus far. Solar taking his usual natural. And we all know, for Zerg players, it is either your third or their natural at this level. You just don't get to take your natural. We just decided that many years ago. Zest definitely... Whoa, a Zergling spread. Searching for pylons, due diligence, making sure that probe doesn't slip back in either. A Stargate is the choice, the most typical one. Solar, I would love to see some cheeses, some spicy strats, but I think Solar's game plan here is going to be to just scout as much as possible and survive. Because Zest has a tendency to start throwing things at you that may or may not work, but with such confidence, you may end up faltering anyways. The amount of times he's gotten away with attacks without nearly enough units through the sheer lack of cowardice. Like, on paper, 4 adepts, a void ray, and a stalker should not drive back 20 roaches. But Zest will show up with that plucky party, and occasionally players will just turn around like, does he know something I don't? No. Well, adepts are in the main. He just cancels them. Where are the Zergling Solar? Yeah, he just walks into the main. The drones leave, so I guess this is the adept space now. Well, the Zerglings are chasing. He cancels it, Brenda! No, guys! And he gets out. Well, the adepts just walked in like they own the place, actually evicted the drones, walked out the back door, and got airlifted out by the Nexus. So, Solar is showing off how many hotkeys he's using. And you might be like, wow. 2 whole hotkeys for a Zerg player, which is pretty crazy. Zest, on the other hand, not a big fan of the whole hotkey idea. He has 2... Lag. There it is. Yes. Oh, he was testing it via the chat. Like, this isn't AoE 4, so there isn't just a 1.5 second delay on everything. So the chat actually can be the laggiest part of it. Zest, on the other hand, has not responded to all this, and there hasn't been a pause. So, Solar just kind of throwing that out there. It's going to be Mass Void Ray, by the way. Be like, but Winter, I thought Void Rays now cost 50 more minerals and took slightly longer to build. And Zest has never cared about such simple things like math or keeping his Oracle alive. Not when he could sit back and build not 2, but 3 Stargates of Void Rays. With a fleet, this is not like a Void Ray build. This is Void Ray's build. That is the best, most clever thing I could come up with. He has okay, 2 gateways. No Robo. Oh god. Solar's overthinking it. So this has become the meta. Zest is once again outplaying the meta by not caring about it at all. So the meta right now has kind of shifted to Protosses transitioning from Stargate into ground. With the nerf to Queen pushes overall and the nerf to Void Rays, this has meant a lot less reliance on the Stargate units in the mid game. And that has been okay, I'm sorry, it's not Void Rays. Zest at 6.5 minutes. He has 4 Void Rays, 2 Adepts, and he's building 3 carriers at a time. Now this is actually tilting over into... Okay, well, just going straight to carrier actually has its own vulnerabilities. We do have 3 Stargates pumping carriers. If the carriers are spotted, which Void Ray charges up, you're going to want to turn that thing off. Well, actually, no. Yo, the Changeling. He gets it. Nothing has been spotted. If mutas are built, he starts with Corruptors. A Sky Zerg opener. The Corruptors could definitely... Yeah, we're fighting a battle in the production tab right now. I'm not sure. I guess he saw enough Void Rays to convince himself it was going to be air. And I'm sure he's played Zest plenty. 15 Corruptors. Okay. Now Zest is heading towards the ground. 6 gates on the way. He hasn't spotted the Spire. They are both playing out the game in their head right now. Neither player has actually scouted exactly what their opponent is doing. Just a whole lot of mind gaming. Alright, a Zergling spotted the carrier. Zest was zoning cannons. This is so many Corruptors, though. 3 carriers aren't quite enough to deal with that. It really depends on where the Corruptors are. And this is the ideal position. The carriers just popped out and are knocked down. 1 down. A third volley from the Corruptors is needed to finish off that carrier. The Corruptors are spotted, but there is a Templar Archives in the most vulnerable possible spot. The Protoss Tech Pustule as well. Always on the back. He's got 23 Corruptors. He's just going to wipe the carriers out of the sky. An Archon producing. The Void Rays are okay. The Interceptor's distracting the Corruptors somewhat. Shield Battery overcharged. Prismatic Alignment was used earlier. He's trying to target things down. One Archon shows up and says, "Get off my lawn." 1 Archon enough to turn those Corruptors around. Zest is down 60 supply. The creep is spread across the map. On paper, he has almost nothing. Those are non-charged, at least not charge slots yet. There's a lot of supply in Corruptors, which aren't really part of the fighting force here. Roaches are showing up. The Corruptors aren't quite with the army, so the start of the fight, the carriers will be able to do some damage. The carriers are kind of... Okay, now they're hitting the Corruptors. The Archon's behind. Stalker's getting involved. Void Ray showing up to the party. Zest warping in more Zealots. Corrosive Bile thrown up and hits more Roaches than anything else. +1 completed. Shield Battery overcharged. Void Rays fully charged. And Zest down 60 supply will drive Solar back. Stands his ground and warps in more. The creep is on his doorstep, but right now, it's Zest's house. Well, that corrosive bow volley did plenty. Solar has 89 drones, so his army supply and upgrades are actually kind of mediocre. The Zealots are just going to run by, actually because of the vision blocker, he didn't see him. The Corruptors are melting the main, the Archons are stuck inside the house. The Corruptors are kind of useless here past killing. Well, Zest actually dragged his whole army, including Immortals, back. Really, Zest? In a classic Zest maneuver, he leaves his 4th base entirely open to getting sniped by the roaches. It will be finished off. The Zealots eventually are remembered. The Corruptors left over will finish off the carrier. The Zerg army is getting overwhelmed, but Zest can't re-expand to his 4th because of the creep spread, which is a little uncomfortable. The Archons are running off into the sunset. Immortals, and Zest just taps it out. Even as he cleans up the army, he sees the direction this is headed. Well, he kind of died. Solar just beat him over the head with the Corruptors there. I assume they've played so many games that Solar, I mean, he saw more than one Void Ray. It's well known Zest will go about his plans even despite whatever you're doing. And then he'll just tap out. Like, so that well, there you go. Solar picks up 1. Well, not the greatest start here. There is a reason that usually you don't see players go directly into carriers. And that's because they can just die. Most of the strength of carriers is added into this endgame death ball, with Archons or even Templar with Storm, maybe some Immortals underneath, as opposed to the end in and of themselves. So Zest kind of tried to skip a few steps there, and Solar called him on it. It looked like for a moment that, we've seen it many times, you build too many Corruptors, and then, like, that's having 23 Corruptors is not part of a balanced breakfast. You need something on the ground, otherwise one Archon can potentially win the game. I mean, probably not one, but literally no ground units does make it difficult for the Zerg to defend, as Corruptors are one of the only outright dedicated anti-air units in the entire game. After getting salty about losing to Skytoss as Zerg the other day, I actually kind of went through the units in the game. And the Corruptor, while it technically has the caustic spray ability, is otherwise the only direct air-to-air unit in the game. And it's quite expensive, and only particularly good against massive air units. It's quite good against them. It does its job well. But it actually does end up being one of the most niche units. Even units like Phoenixes do have the graviton beams to pick things up. Almost every other unit has the ability to hit ground as well. So that is why you sometimes end up in these awkward scenarios with the Corruptors trying to melt all the buildings while any amount of units murder them. A Stargate. Adept pops out at the perfect time to shut down the Zergling. I don't know why we're watching this drone. I just decided this drone looked cool. It does look cool, though. Got a job to do. Gets to work immediately. Gotta respect that dedication. Looks like the Adept does not respect dedication. Throws mad shade. and just leaves without further comment. Oracle first, as Zest spun the wheel and decided this game, like, essentially the Stargate, especially from Zest, is a slot machine. You just pull the slot machine, and the first 3 units are whatever comes up. It's like Oracle's this time. Wow, he does not care about those queens. Zest! Like, that was on its face. Not a good idea. He's lucky he didn't lose the Oracle. The queens were very much there. The Overlord 1 HP. This is... Did he screw up his gateway placement? Yeah, that is not exactly how the wall... He's got the wall in the awkward spot on the corner, which... I'm gonna go ahead... Oh yeah, we're going Moracles this game. Alright. Here we are. He's got a card and he's playing it. Here we are again. But this time, a Twilight and a Forge to follow it up. The pylon wall, oh, making a nice, beautiful pylon wall. He doesn't want that pylon efficiency and necessary infrastructure safety rating to be low. He's got a very big Penez rating, and he's proud of it, believe it or not. Oracles. Well, does Solar have enough to deal with this? The queens will spot it. There's plenty of queens. A couple Zerglings. That's just heading back with the Oracles, even though this will most... Don't you dare turn on every Oracle. He turns on 2 Oracles! Like, you... I don't know why I'm surprised. It's been a little while since we watched the Zest game. Like, there's like 5 Zerglings left. Can we talk about proportional response? And he did, like... Well, shield battery. Oracle's headed towards the main, but Solar has had plenty of time to get Spore Crawlers because you can't just keep going back and forth with these. He's going to realize more queens. Melts 1. Wait, what a save! The transfuses! What a save! Solar! No queen left behind. Zest picks up 3 consolation drones. He does have 60 workers behind this, and is just slapping down a 4th Nexus. Almost at the same time as Solar's 4th. Well, the Zergling's getting in. Zest going blink. We got 15 roaches on the way, but +1 melee for Solar. So, a bit of a spread here. Meanwhile, Revelation... All 4 Oracles still intact. Technically can see the Hydralisk then. Zest, oh, I love it. Even pops the probe out of the wall. The most well-protected cannon you're gonna get outside of a Has-Rush. Making sure Zerglings are no longer quite the annoyance. Alright, sees 2 queens, says, you know what, actually? One of the Oracles will be shot down, so maybe not the greatest trade, but... Saw an opportunity. Yeah, that shield battery's in a horrible spot. Zest. The details matter a bit on that. As you can see, the probe's having a tough time. But it's not like Zest isn't gonna have money in the bank. So, who am I to judge? It's like you spend $38 a month. Okay. On okay, what is usually free or very cheap but costs $38 a month to people who get scammed on the internet? Phone service for a landline he doesn't own, but like just in case. Yeah. Zest seems like the kind of guy who would have a landline and then never connect it. That's a very specific thing. I'm definitely not speaking from personal experience. That's something I just made up. Well, that's a lot of... Solar just has this bludgeon of units. Zest is somehow down 60 supply again. He's warping in Zealots. There's no splash damage. Solar just kind of casually maxed out. This is a horrible fight for Zest with terrible units against what Solar has. The Corrosive Vials knock down the Stalkers. Well, that's a lot of I mean, Zest is blinking. The Roaches are starting to thin out, but the Stalkers very much are as well. Well, there's another round. The Oracles shoots one down. Is Zest... I mean, he's not really turning this around so much as slowing it down at the door. Yeah, that's... Okay, so... Stalker Zealot doesn't beat maxed out Roach. He just kind of walks up and slaps him across the face. Alright. Well, alright. So... Apparently, not building any units and then having no splash damage is not a good late game or mid game or just Protoss strategy. Zest here once again showing us all the strategies not to do, readying you for the reverse sweep as he unleashes his knowledge upon us. So the scene is now set. Zest has created the maximum possible drama. He's playing the long game, the full series here. It's totally not that Zest has a date with your mom in 12 minutes, and this game is going to be a failed cannon rush, and we're just going to move on with our lives. For those who don't know, Zest has won $650,000 in StarCraft 2, and he's been on some of the most well-storied and sponsored teams as well. A lot of people are like, well, that's not that much. Yeah. These players are on teams, and many of the top players, at least historically, have gotten quite... It's sports. You know, in sports, how players get a salary? It's like that. No one ever talks about how much money you win for winning the Super Bowl. They talk about how now you get to be featured in terrible ads with terrible acting. That's where the real money is. So I'm looking forward to my Zest Hot 6 ad. I'm pretty sure we've already gotten one, actually. But I'm looking forward to more, personally. Yeah. Nerd strength. You're like, Winter, but what if he hurts his mouse hand? And that is very cute that you think he uses a mouse to play this game. Nintendo 64 controllers exist, okay? I'm just saying. Drone. Strongly, yet firmly. Politely, yet firmly. Firmly, yet firmly. Ask the probe to leave. The probe, of course, does not. Nabs 5 minerals and then decides, now I'll leave. Not because you told me to, but because I wanted to. Classic probe. Zerg lane. A Stargate again. Zest. Alright. Jimmy, can we roll the... But we don't have much time. Quickly. Wait. What's it gonna be? Yeah, no, of course not. It should have just been Void Ray 3 times and Oracles once. This is Zest. I'm sorry, I didn't weight it correctly. Phoenix is in 2022. This isn't Roddy's stream. So, I'll be honest, this has been a pretty terrible series from Zest. It has not been great. Solar has not done anything. In fact, Solar has broken out, like, ladder strategies here. He's kind of just sat there, maxed out, and then attacked. Like, this is the low APM challenge pro show match edition. Zest has been busy building everything but splash damage. So Solar just rolls him. Well, looks like this time we got the variety pack. We got an Oracle after the Void Ray into +1. Is this a fake? Nope. He's not faking the +1. He's getting a second Stargate. So here we go again. Oracle comes in, 3 queens there to angrily drive it back. Glittering Ashes is a bit easier to defend. Well, actually it was Hardwire, which is one of the easiest to defend of all the maps that Zest tried the all-out Stargate build. I think a lot of the issue was with the only carriers. Like, you do kind of need a little extra flavor in there. Otherwise, you're relying 100% on the Zerg not expecting carriers, which... It's 2022. Lair on the way. Solar. 60 drones and counting. He's gone to like 75 to 85 the last few games. And that's been the easy max out spot. You can technically max out even quicker with just 65 or so, but you don't really have the extra income to switch into other unit compositions than maybe Mass Roach. Deja vu. We've just been in this place before. Stargate vs. Spire. And blind carriers. Does he see the Spire? Wow. Technically, yes. Let's go to the Zest cam. Not that I think, like, if he saw it, he was going to see it immediately. The changeling's in your base? Ah! He got it. So, he technically saw the Spire. But did he care? So, option 1, did he actually see it? Option 2, does he care? And either one of those answers could be no, and it would result in the same situation. Three carriers. +2 attack. So we're doing it again. This time he's got a Twilight quicker. So he could be adding in Archons or Storm much more quickly. And that is the special sauce. Okay? Otherwise you got your very bland carriers. You gotta marinate them with Storm. You might be like, don't the Interceptors hate Storm? You know what hates Storm more? Corruptors. And also everyone else. Well, 4 gates. Slap down the Templar Archives. Nope, 6 gates. He doesn't have enough gas for the Templar Archives, partially because he's building 3 carriers at a time. There are Corruptors on the way from Solar's at 90 drones, which is about the limit, really. You don't want to go too much higher, otherwise your army supply will never be high enough to actually win the game. There's the Templar Archive, so Zest putting all the pieces together about as quick as he can. Well, here are the Corruptors. Can they snipe a base? The Caustic Spray takes a couple seconds to build up, much like Void Rays of old. He's trying to melt it. The Void Rays, he actually micros back some Corruptors, gets the Nexus, which is not great for Zest. How many Corruptors? 3 Corruptors died, which is 450 minerals of Corruptors, so... Well... It's now spotted. So that's gonna build some zoning defenses. How many Corruptors there? 24, but I don't think they're all quite... Well, most of them are here. They're actually just traveling in packs to hide their numbers, which is quite good when your opponent has no Archons. Archon's on the way. A single Archon for now. The creep is at the doorstep yet again, 9 minutes in. And the transfuses are online. One Archon shows up. And the Corruptors now have to be significantly more careful. Yeah, the transfuses are there, but the Void Rays are charging up. The Archon buzz forward. 10 more Corruptors on the way for Solar. Void Rays for Zest. He's made it past 150 supply without losing anything but that Nexus, which is now rebuilt. He's getting closer to maxing out. Solar is approaching the dangerously Corruptor-heavy composition. That's where the Twilight and the Forge are, apparently. The Zealots are just heading out. The Corruptors can't really do anything about them. Is there even enough supply of ground army to deal with the Zealots? Well, Zest with some real F2 action here. The Zealot's gonna stand guard and make it harder for the Archons to do anything. Well, the Roaches are chasing. The Archons are everything. Turning things around. Guardian Shield. Roach is moving forward. Zest rebuilding. Well, he used the shield battery overcharge to keep everything topped up. And now, well, there's not enough. He snipes one Void Ray. The battery helps keep the rest intact. The Corruptor count, he lost 28 Corruptors now. Yeah, that is Void Rays and Archons. Yeah. More Corruptors on the way for Solar. It's not gonna get easier. He's trying to bludgeon Zest here. But this time, he's coming up against a much stronger defense. He doesn't have any spellcasters. No Vipers. No Infestors. I mean, I guess Queens, but even the Queens have been whittled down. The Archons are hitting the Corruptors. The Skytoss army is now even on supply. And that is not good. Zest with a tactical pause. Solar types GG. But he meant go in the ultimate mind game. Well, the Zealot count. 18 Zealots underneath. Archons, any one of those hits. Now, instead of being stacked up and able to target fire, stacking the Corruptors increases the Archon damage by an order of magnitude, because they hit everything within a certain radius of their original attack. So it actually now, what used to be the best strat for the Corruptors is their potential downfall. As Zest is happy to march across, he ferries a couple of the Archons over. 27 Roaches on the way. Desperation Pathogen Glands. But Zest is sauntering across the map with an urgency. Well, it's not particularly quick, but it's definitely not... He's not being cautious about it. He's decided it's time to win. So we will. Zest turns it around. Well, the power of one Archon showcased. One Archon to rule. We saw an Archon in the Legacy of the Void trailer, and that was without any carriers. Not sure why they didn't bring carrier. Anyway, spoilers, that attack didn't go great. You think somebody would have remembered the massive ancient Protoss super capital battle dreadnought ship before the planet was overwhelmed by Zerg. But nobody listened to the face myth until most of them were dead. No. This is customer service representative Carrickson. Are you having problems with Solarite? Would you like to know more about Solarite? Press 1 to hear more about Solarite. Press 2 to hear more about Solarite, but through psionic channels. Press 3 to die to the Zerg. Press 4 to hear these options again. Zest refuses to press any buttons because he hasn't hooked up his landline. We call that a recall back. Okay, there you go. Tied it all together. The probe hanging out. It just goes through the drone. Bouncer drone. Throws him out. Comes back in. Give me those minerals, bro. Flirts with a couple mineral patches. Stop flirting with the mineral patches. They're taken. You're distracting them. You're just jealous. Oh. Zest has never left a base without taking 5 minerals. Oh my god. Is there a first time for everything? He gives him the run. Oh, he just made sure. He made sure to tell him he was extra upset about it. Now there's... he gets out just in time to not die to Zerglings. It's gonna be a Stargate. Alright, alright, alright. Oracle. Bold call. Especially to start, but we are on Blackburn. What a revelation. Thus, fact. Alright, science has been revealed. How many lings are there? Not enough. And are they here to kill the adepts? No. And also they don't have speed done. Solar. Zest shades into the third. Giving him the runaround. Recalls out. The Oracle comes in. The Queen out of position. And then, well, trying to target the creep tumor. Zest, the Nintendo 64 controller, not known for its accuracy. So maybe a bit of a missed opportunity there, but does manage to scout everything out, I guess. Wow, it's just a huge charge lot all in. So mixing it up, just the immediate charge lot. 6, 7. Okay. 8-gate charge lot follow-up. Zest, stop building probes at 36. He's gonna slap down a war prism. He's faking +1 air attack. You have to let him scout it, Zest. You have to let him scout the cyber core. Otherwise, faking +1 air attack doesn't matter. Yeah, otherwise, like... I think Solar's a little suspicious. Zest has done this before, though. Oh, it's... Ah! Solar noticed. He noticed. You don't build 5 roaches. He saw him turn it on. That was less... Come on, Zest. And now he sees the charge. Okay. Come on. He saw him putting the mask back on. And you might be like, well, does he really know? No, he was looking specifically for it, and he saw it turn on. Like, oh my god. And of course now he sees charge. But roaches were already in production. What a disaster. Just had to guess. He could have just finished it. So a few zealots. I mean, it still has some potential. It has to kill a lot of drones, though. It's 6 drones. Some queens. It's starting to get a little dicey. Yeah, if you're able to isolate, transfuse there. The queen of the prism, a little wishy-washy on this one. He saves a couple zealots. So he does finish the 3rd as well. That was not a well, it was kind of a placeholder until it wasn't. So 44 drones, no roach speed. He canceled the lair, by the way. Canceled the lair like it was +1 air weapons. Zest is like totally lag. So, actually, I think he justified it. With the canceled lair, and the fact Zest could, if push comes to shove, just build a Void Ray and already has an Immortal out, there's actually no way for Solar to counterattack and do damage. Not without Zest making a huge mistake and not scouting it at all. So, despite the tomfoolery and the maybe mishandled nature of the attack, Zest ends up evening things out a bit. In the worker count, in tech, he's looking pretty good. Especially with Solar not even done with that lair. He just slaps down the gold base because when it rains, it pours, alright? Like, you're not gonna do anything. So why not? What are you gonna do? Walk across with sloaches? No. What if I build 1 Void Ray? Or, you know, Prism Immortal Micro. Or just Immortals in general. Zest adding on Blinking +1. The roaches are still hanging out in the main after all the trauma. Both players just grabbing that gold base up. So this has actually ended up being the most interesting game thus far. Of course, that could all end very abruptly in either way. But with that dramatic start, Solar's been kind of forced down the roach road. And Zest is looking to meet him somewhere. I was gonna say halfway, but ideally not. Solar suddenly 60 supply ahead. Because Zest, he has 8 gateways, but he can't actually get around to the other side of the minerals here. What are you gonna do, fight with stalkers? He says, fighting with stalkers. I mean, this is not good. Oh, he blocks across, Murs! Wow, 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 he didn't get that Ravager. The observer actually saw this. So this is kind of an awkward fight. The War Prism totally meant to come back and wasn't an F2 at all, don't worry. And Solar helps him out by taking down the rocks. He's gonna need to juggle those immortals! He loses one, but he has actually 2 more. Try to target the shield battery. It's unclear who's flanking who. On paper, Zest doesn't have remotely enough. Corrosive Biles thrown up, landing on the immortals. Blink Stalkers, though, holding the line. More Corrosive Biles, surprisingly effective. Zest blinking back over his mineral line. He's gonna have to retreat the probes or just lose them. Both are viable options, I guess. He's ghetto blinking the Stalkers. Another round of Stalkers warped in over the top. Zerglings added on as anything to get in the way of those Stalkers is gonna be. What the hell? Offers up a probe, saves the probe. Loses an. No, wait, what a save! 1 HP. Wow, he's just. No fear. Solar decides maybe I just attack anywhere else. And that might be a good idea. There's so many Stalkers here. Well, here we go. The Corrosive Biles spray and pray. Throws them across the top, juggling the Immortals back. Like 2 Immortals of HP between all 3 of them. Is there enough to break through? Zest has half the army supply. Once again, Solar coming in to bludgeon him. Zest blinking back. Blinking back. The Corrosive Biles take 1 Immortal. Charge lots warped in. More Stalkers from the natural. Zest almost leaning into the Corrosive Biles. Zoning out the natural itself. Solar doesn't want to commit to such a concave. Zest is definitely... He's building 5 more gates, and he has 1,200 minerals. And he just lost 1,200 minerals of Stalkers. Throws 2 Gs in. Solar just hits him with the knockout. Well, Zest, not quite enough today. A fun series, but very clear that this style of Zest not going to be enough to beat Solar. Solar just staying the course, playing safe, playing strong, and Zest being Zest. Well, hopefully you enjoyed. Like, subscribe, ring the bell. What's your favorite Zest strategy? Check out all these other amazing videos, or at least one of them, one at a time. Thank you for watching. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.